Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Excellency Analyst Desk. I am still joined here, sticking in the booth with me is none other than Cam. You guys talked with Patrick Jones, the mid laner for Death Cards Academy. He talked a little bit about how he was excited for this top lane matchup between his own teammate Fugnugler taking on the all-pro first team top laner from Season 2, Rutledge, who through the first two games of this series, Cam, has certainly been leaving his mark on this matchup.
Absolutely. We got to see Rutledge dominate last game on that Silas. I'm pretty sure he ended somewhere around 15 kills, which is absolutely crazy in a 30-minute game. If you think about it, that's almost a kill every other minute. That's either on his enemy top laner, which is Fugnugler, which, by the way, he was playing exceptionally well on that Poppy pick. But then Sterling Archer, he had a very good early game on his Diana, but in those dragon fights, it was not as good.
Right, and some adaptations coming into the draft from Game 2. Cam, Death Cards Academy have had enough of Beast Lance's Callista. They learned the lesson that so many of the teams in Season 2 learned. You just got to ban away the champion. You just got to take him off of his comfort pick. And finally, we're going to see what else CB Rush have in their back pocket for their ADC. But the first pick on blue side for DCA, Sterling is going to get his Xin Zhao that we saw last week. He absolutely popped off with it. The Kale, notably Cam, is still available on the board.
Yeah, definitely. We could be seeing that Kale locked in for Death Cards Academy, unless it's picked here for CB Rush. But this is potentially the same comp that we could be seeing here from Death Cards Academy in the Game 3 that we saw Game 3 last week as well, where we already have that same jungler locked in. So we could be seeing something very similar, but we so far have a Karma lock-in, which is not what we had earlier on, even though the Pyke is available. Pyke wasn't banned this game.
I believe it was Fugnugler in that Game 3 because they had Uwu Cthulhu on the Pyke, which also not banned away. Jin is going to be the switch up. I think it was Fugnugler who went Karma top with this Xin Zhao.
Oh, yeah.
I'm kind of surprised to see the Jin. Do you think they could have gone for the Kale here?
Yeah, I definitely think that Kale would have probably been safer here, as both Karma and Kale have that flex potential. Both of them really can go 3 roles, although Kale typically only goes mid and top. But they did pick that Jin just to make sure that their ADC is again not banned basically 5 times. And that's going to be that very safe Braum lock-in as well. So this is going to be a different champion finally that we get to see for Beastlands. This time going to be locking in that Ashe, which is typically his main's #1 counter.
Very interesting. We do have the Graves. Do you think it's going to go into the jungle? Because I feel like since the changes were made to the jungle XP camps, we've kind of seen champions like Graves, Nidalee, Kindred kind of fall off. Those like solo carry, like I'm just going to farm like crazy and pop off with items, kind of like fall off. Like it's been a minute since I've seen Graves locked in. Cam, what do you think about this pick coming through for Acid potentially?
I think he's definitely much better in solo queue than he is in competitive, as usually he thrives in these Fiesta type ways where he's able to get lots of his super heavy hitting autos in, which I mean, so far we have been having some pretty Fiesta games. I won't deny that, but typically if we are playing in a more competitive, relaxed way where there's only 2 kills at 10 minutes as opposed to 15, then Graves would not usually be the pick that you want to go for. But I am probably expecting this to be a jungler lock-in, as it's very, very rare that we see that mid. Only a few select players can potentially play that mid, and so far we've only been seeing Frosty play these control mages, so I'm not really expecting him to suddenly pull out a Graves mid in Game 3.
Right, we did see the solo laners actually targeted a little bit in the phase 2 of bans, and I talked about Fugnugler potentially going for the Karma top earlier. Ooh, Cthulhu is gonna be on the Bard. Cam, how excited are you about this champion locked in?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I finally get to see my Bard. Bard was banned in games 1 and 2. I didn't want to make a huge deal about it, but we finally get to see the game of Bard, Game 3, Death Cards Academy. So this is going to be that karma top that we were talking about that they did have in the Game 3 last week as well. And the Bard, it's Bard.
Cam, you can barely contain the excitement. I'm so happy for you. Rutledge is going to be given the Silas once again. It's been one of his notable champions really this season that has become a mainstay in his pool. You know, mid-league season 2, he was pulling out the Renekton, a little bit of Gnar, some other picks coming out. Even I feel like the Volley Bear was pretty common for him, but now we're getting into mixing things up a little bit for him. What do you think about the Silas now going into a little bit of a honestly different composition for Death Cards Academy? The ults are going to be a little weird. I'm not sure exactly how Silas interacts with Karma and LeBlanc. I'm wondering, Cam, if you have any insight on that.
Well, we did get to see Rutledge, like we were saying earlier in this draft, absolutely pop off on that Silas last game, taking, I think, around 15 kills. And this game with that Karma ult, basically, he can take one ability mantra'd. So he could have one mantra Q, one mantra W, or one mantra E. And then for LeBlanc, he could just copy one of his own spells. So he could have 2 dashes forward, he could have 2 Ws with that really big healing. And yeah, it's going to be interesting, as usually you don't get to see a Silas dash 3 times towards you.
But the terrifying Rutledge Silas is going to be coming at full force towards the Death Cards Academy. We're having a very different bot lane matchup now. Eastlance and Nelson have been pretty much handling business down in the bot lane, and Galaki Meep and Uwu for Cthulhu not really making as much noise as we would kind of expect from this very solid duo. We even heard Patrick Jones talk about how they were kind of smurfing in mid-league so far the past couple weeks, kind of falling short in this big matchup. Do you think this lane gives them an opportunity to maybe pop off a little bit here in Game 3?
Well, I can talk way more about the support matchup than the ADC matchup, as Bard and Braum, probably 2 of the strongest level 1 champions in the game for support-wise. So we could definitely be seeing some very early on trading between these 2 champions. As for Jhin and Ashe, they don't usually trade a lot early, level 1 or level 2 even, but if you do have these very engage heavy go-in type of supports as the Bard and the Braum, it's usually really wanting to go in as early as possible to get that early lead for your jungler or even your ADC, whoever is there to take the kills.
Exactly. And the Jhin versus Ashe, I feel like we might be in for a less exciting bot lane than we're used to. I mean, Beastlance on his Kalista pick in the early game knows kind of how he needs to time his rens, when he needs to jump forward, and all that business. I don't know if really until level 6, Beastlance is going to be able to pull the trigger on this Ashe pick. Might be in for one of those games we were kind of talking about. Maybe the Graves doesn't do so well in, where there's only 2 or so kills in around the 10-minute mark. But again, we know these 2 teams. We know they really like to fight. Cam, I'm curious which lane in particular you're maybe going to be paying close attention to.
I would probably actually be looking towards that Silas pick again, as we did get to see him pop off a whole lot, especially last game, whereas he has a much more supportive comp around him this time with that Seraphine mid and that Braum and that Ashe in the bot lane, where none of those champions are really going to be outputting the same amount that he or even his Graves would. But what I am worried about for CB Rush's comp is that most of their damage is AD there. So unless that Seraphine is building straight AP, which I'm not really expecting from her, then she's not going to be doing that AP damage that they need to balance out their AD.
Very interesting. I do like the Wombo combo, Cam, that CB Rush kind of put together. We saw how well Nelson used those Braum ultimates in game 2. Granted, it was paired with the Fate's Call that Beastlance was constantly using, but now they've got some kind of funky tools with the Seraphine coming in with a huge encore. Looking at the side of Death Cards Academy, a lot of potential solo pressure from the LeBlanc, from the Xin Zhao, champions that CB Rush have to play around quite carefully. How do you think this Karma in the top lane kind of fits in with the rest of the composition, or how do you kind of think Death Cards Academy are going to be playing around this comp?
Well, I definitely really like the Karma pick, especially early into the draft, just because of how much she has flex potential for that mid, top, and support role. But specifically in this top matchup, I don't think she should be dying to a Stylist early on. She has so much peel potential for herself and for her jungler if Xin Zhao does come up top lane. And I mean, so Karma is definitely more of a supportive champion, especially in the top lane, where she doesn't really need to get ahead on her own. She just needs to help her team get ahead. And if they do get ahead, then Karma's just going to be a really strong enabler to just help them secure that last win that they need in this series for Death Cards.
Well, ooh for Cthulhu, Cam, you better buckle up. I think it's going to be a really hype Bard pick for him in the bot lane. He's 1-1 with it on the season, but as you kind of mentioned before, hasn't really been able to get his hands on it too much because it has in fact been targeted banned by teams in the past. We'll have to see if he makes good use out of it. Game number 3 here, the number 2 Death Cards Academy looking for their first win in this Block 3 series against CB Rush, who have been looking like they are seriously returning to form. Maybe some people were talking about, hey, they had an easy first half of the season, they better buckle up for the second half. Well, they are showing up on the Rift and they are picking up dubs. Necrox and Icarus are waiting for you all on the Rift, revved up and ready to go for this third and final match of the night. Don't click out of that browser. We'll be back in just a bit.
Hello everyone and welcome to game 3. It is the final match of the evening we have for you here on Summoner's Rift. It's CB Rush with a 2-0 lead over Death Cards Academy. But it's DCA that have found some angles into team fights, into objectives, but they need an angle to take a win tonight.
And I'm really hoping that that angle today for this final game is going to be Uwu for Cthulhu's Bard. We've had Cam Calm on the analyst test this entire season so far. They are so hyped to see this Bard, but it's going to get pick level 1 potentially.
Ooh, flash away from Cthulhu, and that is not what you want to see if it is your win condition. No flash for the next 5 minutes. Could be a prime opportunity for Acid to make his way down there as he is starting his top side.
It's just some level 1 back and forth trades going on here between these two teams, but I want to take a look at these compositions, and specifically, I want to take a look at Rutledge on the top side of the map once again here. He is playing the Sylas one more time. He has been making absolute waves this entire series so far, especially in that last game where he was also piloting the Sylas versus Poppy. However, this time around, into the likes of this Karma.
Oh my God, he's dead.
Oh no.
He's just dead.
Oh,
There's no
no
flash. Auto first blood Cthulhu, man. That is not the way to lane. Your 80 carry was not with you. And CB Rush started out with a quick first blood.
That is so unfortunate here for Death Cards Academy, but a great punish knowing that Uwu for Cthulhu doesn't have his flash available. They take aggressive posturing here, and it was more of a gamble than anything else, seeing as how they weren't leasing for their jungler, but it pays off at the end of the day. They're able to find first blood, and it goes over to Beastlance, who isn't piloting that Callista, so maybe not as scary as it was before, but is still going to be just as detrimental for the bottom lane of Death Cards Academy.
Man, that one is rough stuff. That level 1 from CB Rush's bot lane is punishing. And even without a flash, or excuse me, even with a flash there for Cthulhu, I'm not even sure you can get away. The slows are just too much. They flash follow, and Galaki can't really help out because of the positioning. So CB Rush starting off game 3 with a quick kill onto Beastlance, the member that has really shown up along with Rutledge. I know you were talking about the top lane here, but Beastlance on the Callista has done work all series. This time, he's still on a kiting champion, but it's more supportive from Beastlance. He has the arrow for engage. He has the slows for the team. Quick route on to Nelson. 4 shot over the top will take him down to about a third. Has to heal up a little bit of extra health there on the bot side. At least Galaki and Cthulhu are fighting back after a rough start.
And we can see why the Shin has been banned away from Galaki Meet this entire series so far. Finally gets his hands on this pick, which is glad to see. He did also drop a level here in the early stages, but as soon as he hits that level 2, he gets access to the Deadly Flourish and makes it work for himself. Topside, trade going back and forth. I wanted to talk about this Rutland matchup early on, but we had that first blood going on, but we might have another fight happening here. Instead, it's just going to be the back away from the jungler. Rutledge! Top laner. Oh. He's trying to fight, but he's fighting a melee versus range matchup, and it's going to be much, much harder for him because he can't really steal any great abilities away from Fugnuggler.
Yeah, glad our analyst just brought this point up. The best ulti is probably the Zinzal. I'm not even sure that the Crescent Guard is all that good. Sure, it denies a little bit of damage from maybe Galaki, or I'm not, you know, it's not one of those that he likes to steal all that often, so it's big question marks for the Sylas pick, but Rutledge, he makes it work most of the time. And speaking of making it work, they're going to try to force a gank to the bot side. Galaki does have the cleanse and the flash, but your support does not have those summoners, man. And Galaki, you don't have heal. That is a summoner wasted and a support down.
I wonder if that cleanse was intentional. I don't think it was. I think it was a heal, and that is the saddest thing to see here for Galaki, because now he's not even going to have access to the cleanse himself when he eventually gets stunned up by Nelson and Beastlance, especially looking towards that level 6 in the bottom lane here. I love the ice combo that is Ashe and Braum, because you just can never run away from these two, and we see that exact thing happen here. And when you're running a double 80 carry comp as well, or even the Sylas, who has such fast auto attacks, it means that Nelson is just so useful in this Braum that they have picked up for the 3rd game of this series here. He's played it all 3 games so far, and he is showing why this champion is just so dang good for CB Rush. And a lot of that's just coming down to the fact that he's able to keep Beastlance alive as well. Having that passive, the stun for his team, as well as utilizing Beastlance's prowess as an all-star 80 carry, subbing in for CB Rush. They have been making so much happen here for this #1 team.
And speaking of substitutes, it's Acid coming back in on the starting lineup that we wanted to see him pad down bot side, and he does exactly that. And they punish Cthulhu for no flash. It is so easy when a champion like Bard with very little self-peel, yeah, you got a stun, that's pretty hard to land. You got a magical journey that you need to be in the right spot for, which he was not. And all the conditions don't line up, and Acid just ruins this spot lane. Galaki now down 10 CS already, and it just gets rougher and rougher until eventually the lane ends, but it's not going to be for quite a while. Chris, the CB Rush continue this pressure. As Beastlands picking up those Berserkers, Graves are going to be able to kite away a champion like Galaki and his Jhin.
Top side, Rutledge going super aggressive. Almost finds that kill into Nuggler. Dragon will be picked up, though, by the side of CB Rush. Fantastic pickup with all the bot side aggression that they do have, and no summoner spells available on the Galaki Meep after that bot side gank, so they will have priority as well. And now we also are going to be able to see Acid is just going to be hovering around this bottom side of the map. Sterling Archer also showing up on this bottom side of the map, so we could see a potential 3v3 here as this wave is slowly being shoved in for the side of Death Cards Academy. The pink ward will be seen here by CB Rush, but I don't think that's going to stop them much.
Double stun in for Cthulhu. Well played, but mid lane, Archer showing up. Frosty so low, immediately having a flash, but bot side, the fighting does not stop. Acid is spotted in this river. Another stun for Cthulhu. He's so good
Look at the flame
this
from
champion,
Acid.
but they're just looking for it. They want the kill all the same. Flash is available, but you can't move. The CC is too much, and now Galaki's going to get flashed on by Beastlands. He has no summoners, no way away. Double kill, and this is Lane Kingdom from CBR.
And it just feels like Beastlands is putting in so much work as a substitute here. He flashes forward. He finds himself another 2 kills on the bottom side of the map. And now you still don't have the flash available for Galaxy Meep. Ooh, for Cthulhu does have his available now. There's going to be an arrow coming towards the mid lane. Is it going to land?
Oh, barely wide in mid. Okay, almost tagged someone on top side as well, but instead, both members will keep themselves safe. Beastlands may be feeling himself trying to go for the cross map snipe, but that one will go wide. Cooldown expended, and now Archer is looking to get some counter jungling done.
That's really been the name of the game for Archer this entire series. He feels like he hasn't been able to get a whole lot of ganks off so far. Instead, he's just been looking for counter jungling opportunities and opportunities to steal away objectives, but it never feels like he has the early game control here. He is going to be going forward, though.
Acid knocked up, quick draw not available, has to use the ulti, but Jones over the wall with a quick distortion will give Acid a one-way ticket back to the fountain.
It's constant back and forth fighting everywhere we look. Both of these teams, despite the fact that Death Cards Academy has been down 2-0 in this series, they are still putting up a fight. They are still looking for opportunities to try and go for these aggressive trades here. Getting that pickup will give them priority onto the Rift Herald, so that objective will be started up. They have a solid 5 minutes before these turret platings go down, so plenty of opportunity to make themselves some extra gold off the back of that kill as well. At some point, I would honestly just say go towards the mid lane, drop it down, and pick up the 2 free plates for yourself when you get that Rift Herald to crash into the turret, because the last series, in the last game, we didn't see them use it until just as the plates were dropping. They lost out on a chunk of gold for that, so this time around, I do want to see them get access to that free gold when you pick up an early Rift Herald.
Arrow from Beastlands, an attempt onto Cthulhu will not land, so that's second enchanted crystal arrow for Beastlands not finding the mark, but I wouldn't doubt and at some point, one of these is going to connect, and it's going to be a full-on brawl wherever it does end up going. But for now, it is Galaki and Cthulhu, keeping themselves safe in bot lane. But it's really not much better than just a straight-up death. You're 30 CS down to this Ashe. Nelson has had free potential to roam this entire game, get vision control all throughout the river, as he does so now with this sweeper just gaining so much priority on this spot side that Archer can't ever look for an angle because the control is too much. Now topside, Acid is looking for a plan to fug Nuggler, but he's pretty tanky, might be able to keep himself alive. The tether will get the disengage through. Jones TP's in just to make sure his top laner is kept alive, going for a little bit of a trade with the distortion. The chains will not connect on the recast with that ultimate. Jones not able to find very much. Teleport down, no kills being found.
And what's important to keep in mind here is that this dragon is going to be spawning in 35 seconds, and you have no teleport available for this LeBlanc or for Fugnuggler either. Meanwhile, Rutledge, he's been taking these traits aggressively on the top side of the map, but he still has his teleport available if he wants to opt for a late recall here in order to buy those last second items, or to go for this dive underneath turret. Which is beautifully executed.
Oh, he's just taking down a Jones. Had just TP'd up there. Fugnuggler saying, why couldn't you stay around for a little bit longer? If the jungler can do it, you can do it too. But instead, Acid helps his top laner secure that kill and grab one more to CB Rush. They now have a 4-kill lead along with a 3k gold advantage for themselves. And it is CB Rush with that bot lane priority as well, working on their second Drake of the game.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, Rutledge goes back to base. He buys his items. Now he uses the teleport.
What?
This dragon has been started up. You need to finish this one off, but there's no smite available. Sterling!
Archer, can he get the smite in? No, it's stolen by Beastlance of all members to secure the Drake, and the jungler's already gone down. Rutledge had TP'd into the fight. There's the Tempered Fate. It does find the mark, but it's a a magical journey that gets Cthulhu to safety. There's another stun and a slow meat. Might get one more kill. Beastlance is going to be shut down, and Rutledge had gone too far. All of a sudden, the turntables have swapped. This is disaster for CB Rush. They give up 2 shutdowns. One more Tempered Fate comes through. Not able to find the mark, but Frosty will have to flash all the same. The Deadly Flourish connects. There's the encore for the re-engage effort. Patrick Jones going to go down the block, not able to join into the fight. Nelson hopping forward with this Braum, trying to stand united with the team, but Frosty will drop to Cthulhu. Have used Ignite to get a little bit of extra damage onto the mid lane of the mage is no longer here, and CB Rush will find a couple, but a sloppy fight in the river.
At the end of the day, their dragon is secured by CB Rush, but you give over 2 additional kills alongside the ones that you traded for at the end of the day for Death Cards Academy, and it's now going to be a kill a person. Not the greatest outcome if you're Death Cards Academy. You want to be giving these kills over to Sterling Archer, Patrick Jones, or Galaxy Meat, but evening out this gold and closing it down to just 1,000 gold difference is going to be a big bonus for them. They're also going to finally drop this Rift Herald in the mid lane, but what's important to note is that after all that is being said, it is still going to be CB Rush that pick up the dragon. They still have so much priority in this game. I need to see what is going to continue to come out from Death Cards Academy here if they want to try and pull themselves back into this one.
Rutledge is in between a Karma and a Xin Zhao, and there's just no escape path. Fugnuggler gonna get his second on this Karma top, paying great dividends with a CS lead and 2 kills to his name, really trying to shut down Rutledge, who has been an unstoppable force throughout this series. Hopping forward is Jones, but this isn't the fight that you want. Damage coming through from Frosty, but the re-engage from Archer is here with the Crescent Guard. Frosty's just deleted immediately, and Acid is not long for the world, my friend. One more sweep, and he goes down. Able to trade it back onto Sterling Archer. We'll make it a 2-4-1, but CB Rush keep giving up kills to the likes of DCA, who are finding a way back in.
I don't know how they keep finding these kills here. Sterling Archer and Patrick Jones just did so much work here. The teleport coming out in the bottom lane.
Cthulhu, low HP, but Nuggler TPing in. Nelson has no flash. He has a jump, but how far can it get you? It's not far enough. The damage is pouring through. Galaxy under the turret. Can't find the final auto. Dancing Grenade comes open, but here's the curtains, and the tower dive is soon to ensue. Frosty, Nelson, Beastlance, all here. 2 members at low HP. Patrick waiting on the wings. The volley tagging. This LeBlanc slowly chipping away at the health bars. Beastlance at about 1/3. They don't want to commit to the tower dive. Acid waiting in the wings will make sure the disengage comes through, and CB Rush somehow escape the threat.
Teleport used there by Death Cards Academy, and Nuggler is going to lose at a giant wave on the top side of the map. So great job there by CB Rush to absorb that pressure. The arrow comes out. This is going to mean death. That's a cleanse.
Arrow used, cleanse as well. Cooldown for cooldown is CB Rush. That was the arrow they were looking for earlier on. But it's a cleanse used from Galaxy, so everyone's still alive. But another TP committed. Beastlance is going to be in trouble. He cancels his recall, and Jones, easy pickup there on bot side.
Finally, the teleport play coming in there, working for Death Cards Academy. It only took 2 assisted teleports. Third one finally works out there. So you know what they say, third time's the charm. But at the end of the day, it is going to mean that first brick is given over to the side of CB Rush. We have to remember how much they're losing across the map here when they're making these teleport plays. They give up the bottom side, they give up the top side minion wave, they give up the mid side minion waves when Rutledge rotates from the top side wave into that middle lane, and then he's able to pick up that first brick. Fortunately for the side of for Death Cards Academy, they're able to pick up a second Rift Herald, and they will return second brick on the top side. They may even look to push in this Rift Herald just a little bit more here and try and get some more damage on the top side of the map, but it's not going to mean the same amount of pressure that losing that mid lane turret is going to give for CB Rush when it comes to ward coverage control.
Interesting play here from Death Cards Academy, prioritizing this top lane turret over river priority. CB Rush with complete vision control over this next objective. This is their sole point, Icarus. But now DCA won in. They're not willing to give up this third Drake as it comes online.
Yeah, they really don't want to give up this third Drake, but they just might have to. They don't have prio to take on this fight at all. Look at the itemization. It's a little even here, but the Temper Fate misses. Arrow lands.
Arrow lands onto the jungler. Crescent Guard not going to be able to get you out of the encore. 1 HP. Archer is the first one to fall. Another stun onto the back line. Patrick Jones trying to get away. That's only so far you can run. Distortion will not get you to safety. Knockup going to be flashed away from, but this is sole point. Gonna have to be conceded. Tempered Fate will not find Gallica in the back end. Cannot be stolen by the deadly Flourish. Acid to secure third Drake to CB Rush.
The priority that CB Rush has on these dragons throughout this entire series has been immaculate. When they decide that they want to look for these dragons, they are there in force and they are there to make a statement. The only times we have seen an objective going over towards DCA is when they have been making a play on the other side of the map and decide that that first or second Drake isn't worth fighting for. And we already see they're just still going for more here.
Man, if the Drake wasn't worth fighting for, how about Wolves? You just gave up a death for maybe 100 gold at best. That is not where you want to be. Sterling Archer is not going the tank Xin Zhao. He's going the lethality, and at 2 and 4, this pick just falls off harder and harder.
And you need to be ahead if you're going this lethality, Xin Zhao. You have to be finding these kills in these duels, and that's why I was so surprised to see him find a kill in the mid lane with Patrick Jones, is because it just feels like he hasn't had the control of this game. He hasn't been going for those invades. He hasn't been fighting the early game kills that he needs to be. Meanwhile, CBR Acid, he's going to be scaling into this game because he is a Graves. He's completed that shield bow. He is working towards what I believe to be a Death's Dance here with that Coldfield's Hammer and just the Ruby Crystal. He has also some MR available for himself in those Merc Treads, so he's going to be able to deal with the CC and the damage coming in from Carmen LeBlanc already. But now, once he completes that Death's Dance, I'm hoping he goes for here extra sustainability, and more importantly, he won't get blown up by Sterling Archer like we saw just a few minutes ago, and he's going to eventually just take over this game at 4-2 and 4.
The composition that CB Rush have built for themselves is designed to have these short-range carries really just run at you, with Frosty supporting Nelson, keeping the damage away. Everyone just feels so empowered to do everything they need in the team fights, and CB Rush has done exactly that with complete priority over objectives this game. They've gotten basically everything for themselves. It has been Lane Kingdom in to a 3-0 series possibility for the likes of CB Rush. DCA, though, need to find something in 2.5 minutes. They are on a timer. You cannot give up Infernal Soul to this team and expect to come out with a win.
On top of Infernal Soul coming up in 2.5 minutes here, Baron is also now up and available on the map for either one of these teams to pick up, but you're absolutely right. You cannot be losing more kills here. Patrick Jones has to dash away to safety and work himself alive here, but the teleport will be used by Fognuggler. They might be looking to engage. I don't think they're going to find much.
That they can. Beastlance tries the arrow. That cooldown not available, but Acid and Frosty are sticking on a little bit too long. Why are you trying to re-engage? The rest of of the team is here. A great Tempered Fate could set up kill number 2. The stun doesn't connect. The Encore does, but it does not matter. Frosty's going to go down all the same. Galky with a nice flash to be able to get away from the rest of the team that was looking for something in return. 2 quick kills to DCA. That is how you get back into this game with Baron online. Not sure that they could pressure that one with only 20-second death timers, but here come the curtains. Beastlands is away, but Nelson having to hop out will be safe for now. Cooldowns being expended, Icarus, but the big eye on my screen is this soul coming online.
Yeah, and I don't like to see that the curtain call is getting used there from the side of DCA. That means that there's going to be a gap in those ultimate abilities available once this dragon spawns in a minute 15 here. And that's really where you have to be keeping your eyes for the next minute. It is a 3 dragons to 0 so far. Infernal Soul being one of the strongest in the game is absolutely necessary to be contested here. We will get our final backs in here right before this Drake spawns. So I want to do a quick itemization check here. Hextech Purifier has been finished for Fugnuggler, which means that team-wide Grievous Wound should be available if he decides to ult and shield his entire team, which is his goal when you come into these team fights. Patrick Jones might be looking for a pick, but he's going to be caught out right before this dragon fight.
Patrick going golden. The clone is killed by the damage. Oh, 1 for 1. Barely able to make it worth. It is Seraphine for LeBlanc. The mages are no longer able in this soul fight. Here comes the teleport bot lane. Cthulhu, excuse me, might be caught out now. The Shirley is used for a disengage. Can you get in? Beastlands trying for the arrow, not able to find it. Cthulhu keeping himself alive with some hot feet, but how long can you survive, my friend? Support down, and a re-engage effort now from Archer onto the back line. Acid's gonna find himself dead one more time. Archer barely going to fall to Nelson, and so will Galactically. He's caught out in the wrong spot. Nuggler have to flash away. The Karma is the only one standing for soul fight. That is not what you want to see for Death Cards Academy. TP back in from Patrick is gonna have to be a heroic effort.
I've kept saying this entire series so far that Death Cards Academy are just never grouped around these objectives, and we see exactly why. Patrick Jones gets picked off. Sure, you trade 1 for 1 with Frosty at the end of the day, but you need to be here for this fight. And now, oh, the chains.
Is it a 50-50? Can they steal it? Patrick's in the pit. He's down. Nuggler can't get any skill shots in, and Nelson will secure Infernal Soul. And with mid laner dead for 35 seconds, CB Rush might pull the trigger on this Baron.
They absolutely have the opportunity to be able to pick up this Baron here. They are so strong right now, and with Patrick Jones down once again, it will be a 4v5 fight. Acid is back on the Rift as well. He can come over this wall. He can try and fight this Baron, and there's going to be a contest here. Do they have the damage? Do they have the ability to win this fight with this Baron debuff coming across the field? Shincha ultimate has been stolen. There's the curtain call.
Curtain call gonna go in. Tempered Fate ×2, but Cthulhu's only buying time now. A magical journey will get him to safety at about a 3rd HP. Archer trying to find a re-engage in the back end of the fight. Rutledge may just go down, but it's Archer that's gonna die instead. Baron's been secured by Acid, and there is Archer gonna fall. Deadly Flourish just to escape, but Jungler down 2 and 6 for Archer. He is a non-factor in this game. A full 5-man recall will come through as CB Rush secure 2 legendary buffs as they look to close out the series 3-0.
It is so tragic to watch this final game here go so heavily in favor of CB Rush, but this is why they are the #1 team here at Mid League. The game is not quite over yet, but with a 7,000 gold difference between these two teams, it feels like it is darn near over here. You have so much gold in the hands of Rutledge, in the hands of Acid, in the hands of Beastlands, and this entire time Frosty has just been there to support the entire side of CB Rush. And just look at this, Rutledge gets to do whatever he wants.
Cthulhu's gonna get chained down one more time. The chain lash not gonna be able to find it. The arrow lands, but it's only onto Sterling. Patrick going golden for a little bit more time. There's a Crescent Guard, gonna deny a little bit of damage from Beastlands, but Archer just can't stay alive for too much longer. Nice Tempered Fate for Cthulhu to buy a little bit more time for his backline to dish out the damage. Rutledge at 1 HP. Finally, maybe gonna be taken down, but no, he will not die. This man is made of steel because he will not drop, and Fugnuggler will be the one to fall in the end. 4-for-nothing fight for CB Rush in the enemy jungle as they look to push down bot lane, push down mid lane, and push down top lane. Everywhere is being destroyed because CB Rush are on the victory march.
Game 1, Game 3, different Baron, different Dragon Souls, but the same story. CB Rush cannot be killed no matter what you do versus these guys, no matter how aggressive you play into them. They are always there. They are always ready to fight you. And Rutledge, he's going in for more. He does not care. And just look at his sustainability. He gets the 1v1. It's disgusting.
That is a solo kill. And man, oh man, if you're a CB Rush fan, there's got to be a massive smile on your face now. Sure, you can recall Rutledge, but he's going to TP right back in. Archer down, Jones down, and Galaxy with no summoners means this one is all done but the crying for Death Cards Academy. Rutledge hopping forward one more time with the Abscond Abduct Cthulhu, has to flashback to base. Pad your stats, pad your KDAs, and sure, get some more CC score, Nelson, because you guys deserve this 3-0. There was never a doubt in my mind that CB Rush were the #1 squad, but haters be silenced as #2 falls to the Kings and CB Rush.
In this final game, arguably the cleanest between these two teams here. Coming out from CB Rush, they don't even drop a single dragon this time around. At least in the last two games, we can say for Death Cards Academy that they find some great early macro plays, taking an opportunity where Acid is on one side of the map and looking for a play. They were able to pick up a couple of Rift Heralds, which does grant them their only turret of this game, but that is about the only thing that they find for themselves. Instead, they lose every single turret, they lose every single Drake, they lose the Baron. All three inhibitors are finished off, and it is a commanding statement here, as you said, from the Kings of Mid League. They are showing that they are #1 and strongly, solely #1.
They keep their spot at the top of the table, CB Rush, with an excellent 3-0 to prove to us and everyone watching tonight that they are truly the Kings of Mid League. To break down exactly how it went down throughout the evening and where we're headed for our interview, let's throw it on over to our analyst for the last time to give us the deets.
Thank you so much, Necrox and Icarus, for absolutely crushing it on the cast tonight. Wow, what a series between CB Rush and Death Cards Academy. Cam, I gotta say, even though it was a 3-0, these teams certainly went back and forth. Who on either side really stood out for you?
I mean, Rutledge in those last two games on that Silas absolutely destroyed that mid to late game. All those team fights were so clean, especially just on that Silas, really finding those early picks and then being able to use those enemy ults just to find the extra damage that he needs to secure his crazy amounts of kills, by the way. I believe it was around 15 game 2 and around 10 in game 3.
Wow. Absolutely crazy. Something that we kind of talked about during the draft for Game 3 and Game 2, mentioning how this is kind of one of his new champions that he's picked up for Season 3, one of his latest weapons that seriously has been doing a whole heck of a lot of work. Speaking of new weapons, though, for the old MCE squad now crushing it on CB Rush, the support Nelson, 3 games on Braum, Cam, absolutely doing work with that Braum passive.
Absolutely. We got to see how strong Nelson was, especially in this third game against Cthulhu on that Bard. I was so excited for the Bard, but it did not pay out. As Nelson, he was really on his own comfort pick there. Both of these champions were comfort picks for their players. Cthulhu actually having Bard as his most played champion in solo queue, but that game was unfortunately not the game that got to make his Bard shine. As Nelson, like you're saying, played that Braum so well, as he did get to play all 3 games and already had that comfort pick locked in for himself there.
I wonder if even that's going to start to show up on the ban charts, or the ban phase, at least for him. Maybe he gets hit a little bit. But going into CB Rush, you know, you have so many threats that you have to deal with, some signature champions that you just really can't let go through the first phase of picks, right? You have Acid's Kha'Zix that was constantly taken away. Frosty's Talia, that is just an absolute nightmare to try to handle. We were talking maybe a little bit about what Death Cards Academy could have maybe done into this absolute monstrosity. Baba Yaga, as I called CB Rush during the pre-show, certainly showing why they earned the title Boogeyman. We were wondering about that Kale pick that we saw Patrick Jones whip out in Game 3 last week. This week it was the LeBlanc, and we were thinking really just didn't show up that well here.
No, he did not get to play that early game, as it was so much roaming that was required from both mid laners. And I mean, Patrick was able to follow it much better than Frosty was. So Frosty just slowly got a higher and higher XP lead over him. And I mean, on a Seraphine having XP, that is not something that you usually see, especially if she is in that supportive role. So when she does have that much higher XP than Patrick Jones, then she gets to shine way more with that really strong encore for an engage for her team. And I mean, like you're saying, I think a Kale would have been a much safer pick here, as you have that DPS, you have that scaling, you have that AP damage that you need for Death Cards Academy in this game.
And even, I mean, we know it's something that Patrick's comfortable on. We know it's kind of relatively safe, I feel like, into Frosty, who the Mage Master picked out all three of kind of his favorites, the Zoe, the Lux, and the Seraphine coming out. The Seraphine really popular from his days last season, able to have another solid showing on it. From the side of Death Cards Academy, Cam, I want to mention Fug Nuggler as kind of our last notable shout out for standout performances throughout this series. Even though the Gwen game was a little rough, the Karma looked pretty darn good, and his Poppy, I think the league should be put on notice when he locks in that champion. What do you think?
Absolutely. We got to see Fug Nuggler pop off on his Poppy last week. But I mean, this week, it was a much harder matchup, and he still got to shine quite well on his Poppy. But playing Poppy into Silas is very hard, as you can ult them away, but so can Silas. So this week it was a lot harder. And then in his Game 3 Karma gameplay, I mean, that was some very, very good Karma. But I mean, it's so hard to play a Karma when your team is already so behind, as his bot lane was not ahead at any point in that game, which is very unfortunate, as when you are picking Jhin Bard, you are trying to get ahead, especially early. And Karma's not going to really do that, especially when she's sitting in the top lane on her own.
Yeah, for a much more interesting breakdown on this series, we are going to be taking a moment to speak with none other than the CB Rush mid laner. Frosty is joining our casters. Don't click out of that browser just yet. The stream is not over. Necrox, Icarus, take it away with the post-game interview.